Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we love to talk about movies. I just got back from seeing John Wick Chapter 4 at the theater, so we're going to dive on and talk all spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear spoilers, my quick recommendation is that I give it a letter grade of a B. I think it's worth checking out if you're looking for something to see, but it's not one that I would say you should go out of your way to see. Although if you're going to see it, I would recommend seeing it in theaters. It is visually very beautiful. I saw it in Dolby Cinema. Great to have like that top tier sound and visuals there. But this one did feel like the weakest John Wick in the franchise. I don't know if it's just that we're at the fourth one now, but 3 is my favorite. So I yeah, just because I've seen several before doesn't mean that it's would in and of itself lessen my enjoyment of it. But it mainly comes down to I think the last third or half of the film was really well done. I thought the first was not all that well done. So overall, I thought it was a good film. I enjoyed it. I do recommend it if you're looking for something to watch, but not quite like a must see, which is what I would put in letter grade of an A on. So with that though, we're gonna continue on, get into spoilers. And yeah, if you haven't seen it and don't want any spoilers, then go see it first and then come back. But if you have seen it, definitely stick around and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So let's dive on in. In this movie, John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table. But before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. So yeah, I thought the first half of this film was very weak. I thought it was there too much of the first half did not have John Wick in it. There was when we go to Japan. I love Japan. I was really happy we were in Japan, but I thought the Japan section was not well done. It just felt like it was unnecessary and didn't drive much of the story, in my opinion. It felt just like kind of a pit stop. So especially for like a 3-hour movie, when you have stuff like that in it, it maybe feels a little long. I still enjoy it. I like seeing kind of the world building that's there, but it was definitely a weaker half of the film for the first half. I thought the Marquis is kind of a one-dimensional villain. He's fine. It's a believable enough villain, but also I don't know why exactly has the table promised or like given him the power and the go ahead to do what he's done. Like, what trust do they have in him? Where is that coming from? How is he actually as effective as he thinks he is when he's not even gonna like pay people? Like the one assassin. He's like, oh, give me my finder's fee. I found John Wick. And he's like, no, you serve. I'll pay you when you serve. And it's like, if you're doing that to him, you're probably doing it to other people. So I don't know how you are actually getting anything done. And I mean, as it turns out, he doesn't get anything done. So I don't know. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, not the best villain in my opinion. I think what something that kind of clicked with this film is that it felt a lot like the Bourne series, where John Wick's on the run. He's going against the table. In this case, it's very similar, I think, to Jason Bourne versus the world government's and especially the U.S. So that was I don't know that I had really pieced that together in previous films. That's not necessarily bad. That was just, I don't know, an interesting connection that I had made. I do really want to know more about the system as a whole and kind of the world and the mythology that's there. Each movie we seem to like scratch the surface a little bit, and I love what I see, but like I want to know so much more, and we don't quite get more. So I think that's a good thing though. That's better than diving like too deep into something and kind of boring us. But I do wish we'd get a little bit more than what they give us in each movie. But also in the first half, in addition to not really being all that necessary, I felt the action just wasn't as good, like the set pieces. I felt like there were a few fights in that part where he'd like knock guys down and then they would like be very slow at getting up. And it felt like, I think I noticed at least once or twice where somebody was like starting to come in and then they'd hold for 2 seconds and then come in. And yeah, so like it didn't feel like as the action was as well choreographed as it maybe could be. Maybe I'm being nitpicky. Maybe I'm noticing things or maybe the stuff that's in the other movies that I've just overlooked. I don't know, but that's stuff that I noticed this time around. I did think the last third was really good. That definitely had some better set pieces, like the traffic circle or whatever in France. That was, I think, a great spot to have a fight, although it was a little weird, I think, just like how much the cars were still going. I feel like after about 5 minutes of an open fight like that in a public place like that, like traffic would have just stopped. But it was cool to have the cars coming past. Same thing with like the club where like the guy that does like where they play poker, a hand of poker, where that fight breaks out, like people are just dancing like 3 feet away, not aware that he's like throwing axes through people's skulls. Like occasionally somebody reacts and notices, but I'm like, are people really like that into dancing? It's I don't know. I didn't really buy those kind of background things, even though visually they added a lot and made it a cool, visually looking scene. We'll say. I really liked also the set piece where they're like in the building and it does a really long, well, at least looks like a really long single take where it kind of goes up and over and you get this overhead shot of him working his way through the building. There's seams in the building, so I'm sure they spliced that together through several takes, but it looked like a long take and I really liked that. I thought it was a cool angle to get it, and yeah, that was, I like a good long take in a movie. But yeah, nothing other than those. Like those are kind of the set pieces. I like kind of having to fight up the stairs. It He does take quite a bit of beating in this film. Like I don't know. It's John Wick though. We gotta kind of suspend some belief. But yeah, I thought the action though didn't absolutely blow me away. There was a couple cool set pieces, but I feel like the action was better in the previous films. But again, maybe that's just because it felt more novel then, and this just, yeah, it doesn't have that novelty factor. But I felt like it was worse and it wasn't just the same or hopefully better. But yeah, I did like the duel at the end. I thought that was kind of a cool point to lead the story to, and then I thought it was great how they found a clever way to get the marquee and not have either of them die. You could argue John dies. He might. It depends if they want to end the series or not. My assumption is that he won his freedom, so he probably just went basically into Witsec sort of a thing where like John Wick has died, like Baba Yaga's gone, and he's just off doing his own thing, and they made a grave for him, kind of similar to Captain America, the Winter Soldier, where they make a grave for Nick Fury, but he's still alive and up and doing stuff. So that's my take on it. Maybe he's actually dead. John Wick's been through so much more, like so much worse than 3 bullet holes, and yeah, so I'm not buying that he's dead, but maybe he is. I don't know. They left it open-ended. I liked the credit scene. I thought that was great. It picked up a thread from earlier in the film that you knew was gonna come. Like at the time, you knew that was gonna happen, but I had completely forgotten about it by the end of the film. So I thought that was a nice little credit scene. But there again, it doesn't confirm anything. Maybe Donnie Yen's character is still alive. Yeah, maybe Kane's still alive. I'm assuming though that she killed him, and yeah, that was just a good follow up. Like that's what a credits scene should be. I did think the women side characters were pretty weak overall, which is like I feel like they've done a much better job in previous films, but I feel like we only had 2 in this film, and yeah, they weren't all that well done. So there's a lot of new characters in this film, but they're mostly men. So that's kind of a knock against the film. I also didn't understand why, I forget her name, but in the Japanese, like the concierge in the Japanese Continental, basically, she gets shot and then so she's kind of out for the fight. But I'm like, they make bulletproof suits. You're telling me she's walking around in something that isn't bulletproof when she's the concierge? Like, I didn't really buy that. It was a little weird that she could just get shot in the stomach, in my opinion. But that was a minor nitpick. I think it's for the story, but yeah, it did feel like maybe it's been a while since I've seen the other films. It felt like there was a lot more use of like the suit armor, and I mean that quite literally, like people using their suits as armor. It was almost to the point of comical, but it also makes sense. Like if that tech is in this world, then yes, people would be dressed in it and they would be using it that way. But it felt like it was on steroids in this film for how much it was being used. But yeah, I don't know. I think those are the main takeaways of the film. I did enjoy it. It's just not one that I think is a must see, and I think it's still a good film, but maybe a little bit of a dip in quality for the franchise. Yeah, I thought it was weird how much he was like in the very first scene when he's chasing those people on horseback. He missed a lot, and okay, I can imagine how difficult it is to shoot somebody on horseback, but they weren't wearing armor, and he's John Wick. He took so many shots to shoot those people off their horses. I felt like that was ridiculous. I'm like, what happened to John Wick? This is not John Wick. He would not take that many, shots. But that's also another nitpick. Overall, though, I think it's great that it did end on a positive note. I think that'll help people kind of walking out of the theater. But it is the lowest on my list for John Wick films at this point. But visually very impressive, still pretty good action. And I do like that we got to see a bit more of kind of the universe and the world that they're in instead of just sticking to New York. And yeah, so don't have to go out of your way to see this one, but I think it is worth a watch if you're looking for something. But if you had a chance to see it though, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Did you like this film? Was it maybe a little bit of a step down like it was for me? If you've seen the other John Wick films, what's your favorite John Wick film? For me, it's Chapter 3. I really liked that one quite a bit, but I like that they're all kind of a little different too. So share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.